chakras and the throat chakra. And so
Mhm.
then that comes to communication. Communication is such a huge subject, especially when it comes to literally the most second most important thing compared to, let's say, somebody's heart. And because, like, then communication becomes the very key, really, kind of effect of how healthy we are, that in dealing with relationships, the society, the work, the family, and all of that.
Yeah, I feel like if you have good communication skills, healthy communication skills, nonviolent communication skills, your life is significantly easier than if you do not.
Okay. So can you explain actually when you use the, like non-violent communication? Because, actually is that sometimes when we hear about this word, a lot of the time we associate it with, like, let's say somebody, don't talk and then just go to violent and hit someone and think that's like kind of like obvious, right? But sometimes is that you'll be surprised, that when somebody just don't communicate, refuse to communicate in many ways, that is one way of violent too.
Yeah, so I'll take violence and nonviolence out of the equation because I know that there is something called nonviolent communication, which is a specific method of communication, which I'm not referring to because I don't know enough about it. But in terms of, yes, so your example, somebody pushing you out, ignoring you, not speaking, right? That's called stonewalling if we think about Gottman, and the four horsemen in romantic relationships.
Mhm.
So yeah, there are all these methods of communication that people use that they don't realize, or maybe they do, that they are quite hurtful, right? They can have effects on another person that are somewhat violent in nature, right? They don't feel good, they hurt another person. So that to me is just when you know that you're hurting someone else, or when a behavior is hurting someone else, I feel like instinctually you should want to not do it, right? Now that gets very complicated when people are in long-term relationships, they have a pattern with someone, they are used to communicating that way, they've only ever seen that way, they don't know any better, that it can be their tendency to act that way. But that's like the realm of sort of unhealthy communication. Where we have healthy communication, we have this idea of respect.
Mhm.
So there's always respect for the other person, and there are boundaries, right? So when somebody isn't being respectful of you, or they're communicating non-respectfully, then it is your job to express yourself and put yourself forward and out there and say, well, I'm sorry, but it hurts me when you speak like that. Do you think maybe you can speak a different way, or use a different tone or whatever, right? So there are just the realm of communication is so big and so vast,
Yeah.
and different people are going to have different boundaries on what they're okay with and what they're not okay with.
Mhm.